Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to replace the expansion tank on a BMW. This is an E70 with an N55 engine. Please remember to subscribe to my channel and ring the bell to be notified of new videos. The expansion tank is a pretty common failure on many BMWs. I just want to go over the parts real quick that I have for this. I have my new expansion tank right here. You can see it comes with a sensor. This is an OEM tank. Part number is 17138621092. There's a little locator here. We have two hold downs, and we have a lock tab here, and we have a lock tab here. So we're going to have to access that. I like to replace the cap when I do an expansion tank. Doesn't make sense to not replace the cap. A lot of times you can have issues with caps and it will leak past the cap. The part number on this is 17117639021. New cap ready to go. Don't foresee us needing very specific tools. A ratchet, I have an electric one and a regular one. I'm going to need a 10mm and an extension and a pick, and I believe that's all we're going to need to get this repair done. Besides the coolant, I'm going to show you how to bleed the system electronically, and we're also going to do a vacuum bleed, which is the best way really to bleed a cooling system. Let's take a look at what we need to do to get this done. Alright, so we have our overflow line right here, and we have a clip on here which we're going to lift up. That's going to release. We're going to slide this off. We have a 10 here and a 10 here, and we should be able to wiggle this free. I am going to loosen up this location here for the power steering reservoir, just so we can move it out of the way, because we have a connection down here for that bottom hose. That's the one that really can kind of be a pain in the butt. Now remember, when you're working on a cooling system, you always want to make sure that it is not pressurized. Make sure that it is cool before working on this, and you always want to open it slowly. Safety glasses are recommended, which I don't have. But I know that this is cold, so I also know it's empty because it has a leak in the side. Alright, let's get started. Also remember, coolant is poisonous and it is sweet, so animals can drink it because it tastes good and they will die if they get into the coolant. So make sure you have a catch basin underneath, which I already have, and make sure you clean up any coolant residue so that you don't harm any of your pets. Alright, the first thing I like to do is take this line right here off. There's a little lift tab, so we're just going to lift it up one click using a pick. Be careful, because if you pull this too hard, this can come off. If you lose this clip, it comes free with a new hose. Right? A lot of times you can just wiggle this free, so I don't like to leave it like that. I like to pop that back down. Right? Now I'm ready to lock that back in. I don't have to worry about getting caught, popping off, going flying. And we can just tuck that under something right there. Alright, before we start too, one more safety concern. Here's your jump terminal. If this is open, this is live. If I go like this and I'm working here and I tap this and I touch ground, you're going to create some sparks. Not a good situation. You could damage something, could hurt yourself, could scare the crap out of yourself. So make sure that cap is on. Alright, I like to start just by giving myself some extra room. I'm going to take the reservoir off for the power steering system, and that is just two 10mm right here. My battery just died. Good thing I have a spare battery. Alright, let's pop these nuts off right here. Alright, with those off, we can lift this up, so just be careful. So I'm going to lift it up, it's loose. Right here are metal sleeves that slide into these rubber mounts, these rubber grommets right here. If you don't remove them, they can fall out. Just push them up. This one doesn't want to come out, so it'd probably be good. Of course, it would probably fall down. There it goes. As soon as it breaks free, you could lose it, and you'll lose it in your engine compartment. So it's a good idea just to take those out. This is going to give us that little extra room that we need down here. All right, next is just to take the 2 10s off the expansion. One screw there and one here. Nice and easy. All right, with that off, that does free up the expansion tank, but we're stuck still because we have that hose down the bottom. Now the hard part here is, without taking all of the intake pipes off, we have to get to the back side of the connector. The good news is, I can show you here basically what it is. It's facing this way, so it has a flat part here, and the clip is on the side that is difficult to get to. So you're probably not going to be able to see me getting it, but you need to get in there with a pick and just clip it so that the same thing, you're going to hook it and pop it out until it gets to its lock tabs. There are little lock tabs on the side. Once that's there, then you can wiggle it free, get a screwdriver in there and pry it down. And again, when you get it out, lock it, look inside, make sure nothing's broken. There is a gasket in there too. It's not replaceable, comes free with a hose. So let's see if we can get that off. So the trick is to lean it this way and come in through this side. Now you also have the wiring, so you have to get down there and you'll feel the wiring that goes to the sensor. So there's another trick too for that sensor. The sensor is in the bottom and it twists out and in. I can show you on the new expansion tank, but I can actually just twist it and it will pop down the bottom. That way I'm not replacing the sensor because it comes free with a new expansion tank. But that enabled me to free it up. You also don't get coolant in the connector, so it is good to twist it, right? And you twist it this way, pop it free. Let me show you. Here's the new expansion tank, and there's a lock here. It twists and comes right out. Just like that. There's no gasket on this. What? What's going on? Coolant's gonna pour out of this, right? No. This is a dry hole. This is a sensor that works off of a magnetic pickup, right? German engineering. Lock that in so when it's full, the magnetic pickup float lifts to a certain level and then the sensor reads full. That's how it works. All right, take your pick. You can see kind of down in this area here, and if you take, this is kind of a weird angle pick. Right there you can see. It gives me that angle I need. It's not quite a 90. To hook, feel for it, hook it, and pop it. So I just pulled it out. It should be released now. And then again, it is just like the one right here. So if you need to refer to this one to figure out how to do it, just take a look at that one on your vehicle. All right, with that free, if you hold the bottom hose and you wiggle and a jiggle, here we go. It popped free. Let me get my catch basin under there. All right, it's going into my catch basin. This is garbage. We can take a look at the crack close up now. All right, you can see right here is the crack. It is kind of an odd place for this type of failure. It's not in the seam or anything. It's just age. Like I said, I have seen it leak around the seam. That's actually way more common. So this is what it looks like down here with the expansion tank removed. Here's the sensor, right? Which actually we could take the sensor out of the other expansion tank, plug it in here so we don't get any coolant in our connector. Keep that nice and clean. You don't want to get coolant in a connector. The coolant will actually break down the pins and you'll end up with the problems. You want to keep all your electrical connections clean. If you do get coolant in it, clean it with an electrical contact cleaner and spray it out. All right, here's our bottom connection here. Make sure to re-clip that. And then it's going to be simple as put our expansion tank in, give this a good push up and lock it into place. One thing you can do at this point is just take some clean water and you can flush the area of the coolant now, and you can also clean that connector because the coolant gets pretty slippery. So I'm just going to do a quick flush with some water. So after cleaning it, I'm going to unplug, just press down on the tab. I'm going to unplug the old sensor and I'm going to plug in the new sensor. And I'm going to remove my new sensor and I'm going to go ahead and put that on my wiring so that I don't get coolant into the connector. So there's my connector, and I'm going to go ahead and install that right there and lock that in. Okay, it should lock in. There's a press tab right there. That's how you remove it. Press down on that and it should slide out. This way nothing can get into this wiring and cause damage. That way when I put the expansion tank on, I can go ahead and slide that and then just twist it to lock it. Alright, let me just go over one more thing before we throw this in. You see this U right here. If you look here, this is the holding point. If we come down a little bit, you have this little nub right here. That's part of the frame of the vehicle. So right there, that's where that U sits. You're going to slide it right in. That's your locator. So we can move it out of the way, plug everything in, and then relocate it right in that spot. Alright, hopefully that's a better view. I'm going to go ahead and put this into position. Right, it's going to sit like that. I'm going to move it to the side so that I can get my hand down here, and I'm going to lock on that bottom hose. Let's see, down here, move this so I can get my hand on that bottom hose, line that up, and pop that on. There you go, click. You can rotate it. It does just float in that spot, and that is all engaged. Alright, excellent. Now to get the sensor on. Sensor's the same thing. It's going to be all kind of by feel. Find the sensor that's floating down there. Alright, just like we had, find it, slide it into the bore where it goes. There it goes. And it should just twist lock. There we go, it's locked in place. Alright, with that locked in place, you can put your hand down here and check. Make sure there's no tension on anything, feels good. We can go ahead and put our expansion tank in its position. Alright, I like this camera angle right now, so I'm going to go ahead and take my power steering reservoir and just slide it over. That can rest into place. And take those sleeves and I can just put them back into place. I can take those nuts and get those started. And we have the two 10mm screws for the actual reservoir itself, just those two. I am going to go over how to do the bleeding, which is going to include a vacuum bleed. If you don't have a vacuum bleeder, that's fine. Fill it with fluid and then just do the electronic bleed. Since this vehicle has an electronic water pump, we can actually tell it to activate, and I'll show you how to do that so we can bleed the system that way. A vacuum bleeder, which is not overly expensive, I'll put a link on the notes. Go ahead and tighten these down. And you don't have to over tighten these, just a gentle snug. Same thing. Alright, we're on our way to finishing. Alright, we have our hose that we have off. There is a locator tab. You can't put it on any other way. Just make sure it lines up, give it a gentle wiggle. Make sure you press down on that clip, and then you can even do that. I did already do that, but you get your hand back here, press that clip on the bottom. Make sure these are seated. I've had it before where they don't lock in correctly. They will actually blow out, and then you're going to lose your coolant. It's not good if you're not close to home. Alright, I'm going to do a vacuum bleed now. I'm going to be using the snap-on. However, this is the same tool as the airlift, or there's one called a K-tool It's actually even cheaper. It's like 89 bucks on Walmart. This is a great tool to have. So I have it set up. We're gonna go ahead and use it. So I have this jug. I like to fill this. This is my 50-50 mix. Remember, BMW coolant does not come as a 50-50. You have to do half water, half coolant. You want this to go in all the way at the bottom with this, so I don't have tension. You do have a spot where it's overflow. You can get another container for that. For this, it just goes into the reservoir and tightens up. I do need to have access to the button on top here, so I need this to go this way, like so. And I need to loosen this up because this is an expandable piece right here that goes in, and that's going to be my seal. There we go. And just tighten up this knurled section here. And you do need shop air for this, or an air compressor, which nowadays are not overly expensive. It's good to have one at home in your garage. Okay, you snug that so it's snug, and we're going to do a vacuum bleed. And this will also tell us if there's any additional leaks. I'm going to get my coolant container, and I can actually put my overflow into the coolant container, and then I'm not spraying anywhere. So that's the setup I like right there. So let's start this. Alright, I stopped here and I'm in the green and it is holding. You need to now open this valve back here because we need to have our coolant go into our line and be ready to go into the vehicle. So you're basically like doing a pre-fill. So I'm going to just crack that slowly. It's under vacuum, so whoop, there it goes. I'm just purging the air. See a bubble there, so I'm going to purge all of the air from the line. So I am now, and I'm still in the green, so I'm actually pretty good, but I like to run this longer and have a really good vacuum. Now look at my upper radiator hose. It's sucked all the way down. That's what you want, that's what you expect. It's under a vacuum. This will not cause damage to anything. It actually just collapses all the hoses and it gets it ready to just intake all of the coolant, which it's really a great tool. So I'm going to continue here. Now when it makes that noise, I'm ready to go. I can't draw any more vacuum. So you just slowly crack this open and it should fill. Hear it going in. All right, there's my coolant dropping pretty quick. Now I can close this if I start running low. I don't want to introduce air into the system. Wow, it's pretty empty. The hose is still collapsed. And we're still using up that coolant. Alright, still going. And there it goes. Alright. And we're still good here. I think we're going to be okay. This is an old DEF, or diesel exhaust fluid container, that I was able to get from work, and it's very handy to use for mixing fluids after it's rinsed. Alright, so my radiator hose is no longer vacuumed. It feels great. If I press on it, right, I'm not getting any air bubbles, so I am good to go here. Alright, once you're at that point, go ahead and close the valve off and disconnect your air, and we can take this off. You just unscrew the bottom to release it. It'll pop off. drain your coolant back into the jug. Alright, this step of this video I'm going to show you how to activate the electric water pump. To do that, you definitely want to have a charger attached. So go ahead and attach your charger, positive and negative. We should have a jump terminal right here. This is on a BMW X5 E70. And set this to, I'm going to do a 12 amp because I'm going to be running the electric water pump. I'm going to go show you in the car how to activate that. Now my coolant level is very full because I had just vacuum bled it. You want to make sure you do not leave your expansion tank overfilled because you can actually cause it to fail due to the pressures that build up from having too much fluid. It will vent, but it can only do so much. So we're going to definitely have to adjust the level. Let's do our electronic bleed first. So you're going to want to get into the vehicle and go ahead and put your key in and power it on. You want your heat at the lowest blower output but at the highest heat setting, and then you press and hold the accelerator pedal. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I already hear it running. Here we go. So it is now going to activate the electric coolant pump, and it is going to purge all of the air out of the system. And you're going to want to do this after any repair to the cooling system. And it should run it again, and you can run it a few times. Alright, kick back on. And this could run for quite a few minutes, and that's why you definitely want to have a charger on the vehicle. And I'm running at 12 amps just to help maintain the battery voltage as I do this bleed procedure. So it's actually pretty simple. You can run this a couple of times and make sure that all the air is out of the system. And then at that point, you want to correct your coolant level using a turkey baster, whatever you have that you can use to remove the coolant, so that you can get the correct cold fill level. So I can hear the water pump running, which is over on that side of the engine, and it is now running at a higher output. It's going to go through different stages to help purge all of the air out of the system. Still going, and actually drew the battery down to about 10 volts, even though it has a charger on it. This can take 12 minutes, I think, is the average time. So you just have to wait that 12 minutes and then make sure to charge your battery back up when you're all done. So you know what's happening here is the ignition is shutting itself off. That's because the battery is not strong enough to run this for the length of time it needs. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I know I got a good bleed, plus I already did a vacuum fill. You're going to definitely want to charge your battery maybe before doing the actual activation if your battery is a little weak. Alright, so I'm going to charge this battery back up on a 2 amp setting. It is better to charge a battery slowly rather than quickly to prevent it from getting overheated. So I'm going to leave the charger on this overnight, but the next step is to correct the coolant level, and actually it did drop quite a bit, so we're going to go ahead and use my wife's turkey baster. I promise I won't give this back to my wife. I'll buy her a new one. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the coolant using a turkey baster. Makes it nice and easy. I'll keep this with my tools. I have like a bulb style one at work, and I have a vacuum one here, but I don't want to set that all up, so this is just easier. And keep taking out the coolant until you get to the correct level. On this particular vehicle, we have a step level, which is max cold and max hot. And there we have it. We are at the correct level. The coolant level is just right at the max mark. And that is how to bleed the system after a repair. And I like to take a little bit of coolant and actually put it around the seals of my new cap. And you can rinse all this with just fresh, clean water. I will do that tomorrow outside. And this job is done. Actually, it's not done. I want to make sure that I don't have a secondary leak now that the system's up to pressure. I should pressure test this one more time. So if you watched my diagnosis video, you saw me use this tool. This is the Matco version. It's not locked. Oh, that's why. Put that down, that locks it. Okay, and now I will pump this up to about 15 psi. 15 is a good place to start. You can go to 20. I'm using my pressure gauge here, which is right at the edge of the black mark. Right there. 17 to 19, that's 20. So to test this, you would actually just leave this for 5 minutes or so. If I can set this up somewhere, and then come back and check it and to see how much it lost. Right? Now, it is not abnormal to lose a little bit due to temperature if you're going from a hot engine to a cold as it cools. And there I'm set. Let me show you. I'm set on my gauge, and now I will let it sit. Okay, after 5 minutes, I did not lose any pressure, so I am good to go here. Okay, I'm going to release pressure. Sometimes you can have this cause an overflow, so you want to release pressure slowly. Take this off, and we're done. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. Like I said, I'm going to rinse this off tomorrow. Please subscribe to my channel. If you found this helpful, send it out in social media to somebody else that may find some value in this video. Likes and positive comments are greatly appreciated. Thank you.